the real. From A to Z. Surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. It is never a dull day in Dallas when it comes to these Cowboys. Never a dull day. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Texas Family Fitness, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, as well as Twitter. I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! You know, the football guys, they have a way of toying with you.
3, 2.
Got a way of toying with you. Here we go. Yesterday, you know, there's big news out of New Orleans that have ramifications for the Cowboys, and we'll talk about that. But yesterday, I talked about I would love to have Sean Payton, but until something happens, it's a fantasy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, something happened, and then a report dropped later on in the day that really added some sizzle and spice to this whole thing, and it's like, hey, this just shifted from fantasy to reality real quick. And like I said, there's ramifications that really by association have to do with the Cowboys. So we're going to talk about a little bit today, and then we'll transition that into grading the main coaches on the roster, since this is going to be mostly about this staff and whatnot and how they did or how well they did or didn't do. But yeah, man, so big news, man. Big news came out of New Orleans, as we all know, about Sean Payton deciding to step back or retire, whatever word he wants to use. And Monday, when this report at first came out that he may be thinking about doing it, we talked about how, could hit the TV airwaves a la Bill Parcells and then eventually come back coaching a few years later. I don't know. It's going to be a few years. I don't know if it's going to take that long. So let's talk about it, Cowboys Nation. I want to hear from you guys. Call in 717. I'm about to give y'all my number. 351-999-3787. 351-999-3787. Wild report about Payton that we'll talk about. He stepped back. I think it's gonna be very interesting over the next 12 months, if not sooner. So we'll get to that. I saw y'all see I tried something different here with the chat. Got to be subscribed. My man TC915 said, "Hey Sky, why didn't you do that last week when we had the Niners in here?" You're right. I didn't know that you could do that. So it will be a subscriber-only chat here on YouTube, which I think is cool. You know, it kind of makes it feel a little bit closer to the community. Again, subscribe, and let's rap and build this thing. All right? So hold tight, phone lines. Hold tight. We're going to get through already have some calling through. We're going to get through the roundup, and then we'll come out and talk about this situation with the Cowboys. And it's worthy of the conversation now in depth, in my opinion, because of a lot of things that have dropped. It still feels very Earl Thomas-y 2.0. The difference, though, being that there is no cap. There is no salary cap that they have to abide by. The one thing that could be the tricky part is compensation, and we'll get to all that. So before we get into the roundup, today is the 2-year anniversary. I had to use the word anniversary, but it's been 2 years since the sports world lost Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gigi, as well as the 7 others on the helicopter, which I'm going to read their names: John, Carrie, and Alyssa Altabelli, Christina Mauser, Sarah and Peyton Chester, and Ara Zabayan. That I just wanted to acknowledge that and talk about a little bit about that day for me. You know, a lot of people that know me personally know how I feel about Kobe. Kobe is my favorite athlete ever of all time. I played basketball my whole life, and Kobe was my guy. I mean, Y'all can't see it, but I got a Kobe plaque thing right here, right next to this wrestling belt. And it was one of those days. Yes, rest in peace, Mamba. I can't believe it's been 2 years. It's one of those days where they say you know where you were when it happened. For a lot of our older fans, that's Kennedy, right? Like people know where they were when the Kennedy situation happened, where Martin Luther King, when that happened, Malcolm X, when that happened. Depending on your age, things like that. For me, 9/11, right? That's another one. For me, it's 9/11 and Kobe Bryant. I remember exactly where I was. I was actually doing a podcast. I had a podcast called the First Down Podcast. Me and my boys, Cam and Jawan. Salute to my guys back home in Harrisburg. We were doing a remote show at a Madden tournament at the mall. And when the actual accident happened, we didn't know. No one knew, right? We were doing the show live. Thank the heavens that I wasn't told this information while we were live, because I feel very strong about Kobe Bryant. And so it's over. Me and my boy, we go down to the cafeteria to get something to eat in the mall, and I get a call from Michelle, and she's a little bit, I don't want to say hysterical, but she was kind of surprised, and she told me, Kobe Bryant died. I'm like, stop. Don't play with me. I hung up on her. She'll tell you, I flat out hung up the phone. I said, you don't play like that. Don't play like that. But it felt weird. And I'm looking around the mall, and I'm seeing everybody in their phones, and I'm like, this is strange. I even said something to Darnell, who I was with. I said, he's like, what's wrong? I said, she just told me Kobe died. We both immediately go on our phones, go on Twitter, TMZ, all this stuff. And it was still very sketchy. And then it really started hitting that Kobe died. And I don't know. I think we all have this feeling where we all know an athlete or a celebrity or whomever. You don't know them personally, but when you hear about their death, it hits you like you did. That was Kobe for me. I was stuck in that cafeteria. We walked back to the tournament to unpack, and I was just speechless. The entire room, you could feel the entire room. It just went down. Everybody's chattering, and this is real. Is it not real? It was one of the most surreal moments that I can remember since 9/11. And 9/11, I was a kid, so I didn't really know all was going on. I just knew the grand scheme of things. I didn't know all the other little things, but this one hit me extremely hard. Got to my car and kind of just broke down a little bit. I think a lot of people did. That was a tough day, and I can't believe it's been 2 years already. 2 years. So rest in peace to Kobe Bryant, Gigi Bryant, and the 7 others that were on the helicopter as well. John, Kerry, Alyssa, Christina, Sarah, Payton, and Ara. Rest in peace to you guys. And my condolences to the family members that are still here with us today. I just want to get that out. Kobe's my guy, and I wanted to talk about that. All right. Now, let's move on to, I know y'all probably like, Sky, dang, you're bringing it down. Let's move on to the roundup.
Look at them, it's about that time.
It's time! It's time! It's time!
It's time! It's time!
It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Y'all ain't right. Gonna tell me I was 25 when 9/11 came. Y'all ain't right. I ain't even gonna tell you how old I was. This is the morning roundup presented by Texas Family Fitness. Strive for progress, not perfection. Fitness goals are not accomplished with one workout. Progress towards your goals with Texas Family Fitness, a solution for your fitness goals. Check out any of the 9 locations in the DFW area or visit texasfamilyfitness.com. Marcus, you ain't right. First up, Micah Parsons was named Pro Football Writers of America's Rookie of the Year, which means he's likely going to be named NFL's Rookie of the Year, what have you. Which, no-brainer, right? No-brainer. Micah was phenomenal this year. He is what Jerry Jones tried to dub Jalen Smith, a cornerstone player. This is why I don't like to listen to Jerry too much, y'all. But we ain't got no choice at this moment, huh? That is a true cornerstone player, a true franchise difference maker. He has the ability to be one of those Patrick Willis, Luke Kuechly type of defensive linebackers, defensive players / linebackers that can change the course of your defense for a very long time. For a very long time. And he deserved the Rookie of the Year. 12 sacks, 12 and a half sacks, 13 sacks, depending on where you look at. A ton of tackles for loss. His coverage improved as he went on. And when we get to the linebacker, hindsight 2021 linebackers, I can't wait to just talk about him and just look at the film all over again. That's what sucks the most about the season ending. We can't go back and marvel at Micah Parsons running around. Even in the playoff game, where you can tell he was still suffering from a little bit of the COVID situation, having to go to the sidelines, put on the oxygen tank. He still was your best defensive player. If it wasn't for Micah, it could have got out of hand in that game. He was almost single-handedly shutting the running game down after it kind of got off to a hot start. So Micah's phenomenal. We're lucky. And I think moving forward, he'll be one of the main reasons why your defense will be competitive. And I don't think the defense will ever go back to what it was prior to Micah Parsons. I think because of Micah Parsons. Truly believe that. Unless you get a Mike Nolan in here that doesn't know what he needs to do. But yeah. Kellen Moore. So this came out yesterday. He's not expected to land a head coaching job this offseason, which to me and to many is not a surprise, but a disappointment. Be real with you. Disappointed. I'm not surprised that he's not going to he didn't get a head coaching job, because for the last 2-3 years I've been saying this. I just don't look at him as head coach material just yet. I don't know who I was talking to. Maybe it was Fresh yesterday. We were talking about how maybe he needs to go to college first so he can learn how to be a leader of men. Although all those kids aren't men, but still. Here is an interesting excerpt from a hiring committee per Aaron Wilson of the Pro Football Network. He met with Jacksonville, Denver, Minnesota, and Miami over the last about 2 weeks. This is what Aaron Wilson was told from one of the members of the hiring committees. At least one hiring committee came away wondering if he has the command, personality, and leadership style to stand in front of an entire team and grab players' attention. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan. I can kind of see that from a distance, but I didn't want to just, and I know y'all saw the same damn thing. I didn't want to just say that until I kind of confirmed that. So I asked multiple players, and they came away with the same thing. Like, nah, he's not. I wouldn't want to play for him. He's not ready for that yet. And it's kind of unfortunate because it looks like we may be running this entire staff back for the year of 2022, but it might just be 2022. This one is the leading story of the day across the National Football League. Sean Payton, and I'm going to use my words carefully here. Sean Payton decides not to coach in the year 2022, this year. And he said himself using the word retirement, he doesn't like to use that. It is very clear when you listen to Sean and listen to people that have been around. He's not retiring from the game of football. He's taking a step back. And there's a lot of details that fall under that, that obviously we're going to talk about with the Cowboys. But here are some of his quotes from his roughly hour, I think it was, press conference. I actually watched some of it, man. It's really nice to hear a guy like Sean Payton talk, a coach like Sean Payton talk. You just feel like, yeah, I want to play for that man. But anyway, a couple of some of the text messages. A couple of some of the excerpts that he said. I don't know what's next. I don't like the word retirement. I still have a vision for doing things in football. That might be coaching again, but that's not where my heart is right now. Sean Payton on speculation of him coaching another team next season. I get it. I understand it. My plans are not to be coaching in 2022. That's how I feel. I'd like to try TV. I've had some opportunities that would be something that would interest me. Hopefully that opportunity comes. That's just some of what Sean Payton had to say. And it is clear as day, whether it be in 2023, 2024, whenever his contract runs out, Sean Payton's coming back to coach. And I think the odds-on favorite is that it'll be the Dallas Cowboys. So, Cowboys Nation. Now that this thing has some legs, some real legs, and not kind of just fan like we want this to happen type thing, but some real legs, I think it puts the Cowboys coaching staff in a very, I want to say tough, a very interesting situation, because I like it to be tough. I love that it's tough. If he isn't going to coach in 2022, which he said his heart's not in it. Heart could change, a couple dollars, whatever, but he's already getting paid, right? I do think he wants to recharge, take a step back, and come back to coaching a la Bill Parcells in a way, but much younger. That, in essence, in my opinion, makes Mike McCarthy and this coaching staff kind of like a lame duck year. Granted, McCarthy has more years on his contract, right? We get that. McCarthy could stay here again for 3 more years if he does something good next year, which good we mean win the Super Bowl. Because let's be real, anything short of that, maybe getting there, Jerry's going to be looking to move on, right? That also puts Jerry in a very interesting situation. There aren't too many head coaches I think Jerry would be willing to give up on Kellen Moore for. Sean Payton is one of them, right? We talked about Monday how there's real love between Sean and Jerry. That's no secret. That's no secret. But we also know the love that Jerry has for one Kellen Moore. That puts him in a tight situation. The question then becomes, do you rip the Band-Aid off now and make this move, or do you wait till next year? If a coach truly does need to recharge, I'm okay with letting him recharge. Go recharge. I understand you've been coaching for 16 straight years or what have you. It's been a lot, definitely over the last 2 years with the COVID situation. I'm okay putting these dudes on a hot seat. I'm okay with that. Put them on a hot seat. Pressure bust pipes, right? Or it makes diamonds. One of the two things is going to happen. And if it doesn't work out, then you can explore a refreshed, rejuvenated, want-to coach. Not a guy that has to scheme his way in here. We know he wants to. And again, a lot of things fall under this. Will Jerry be willing to give up some power? Will Sean Payton be willing to not have as much control? Or will Sean say, hey, Jerry, listen, we boys, but you know how I coach. We talked about the two type of coaches that changed the course of the Cowboys a lot over the last few weeks. The Jimmy Johnson and the Bill Parcells. Two things they have in common: alpha personalities that they fought with Jerry. Jerry got his way on a few things, but they got their way too. Let's make no mistake about it here, man. Mike is their yes man. He's their yes man. He became their yes man the minute he signed on to this. And they fired all those coaches, but they kept Kellen, right? So he's their yes man. We talked about wanting some confrontation in this organization. Sean will give you the confrontation. Sean not going to take it from Jerry Jones. So the question then becomes, like I said, do you do it now or do you wait? Let me just tell you what the do it part is. You can't sign John Gruden, for those who don't understand the situation right now. John Gruden is still under contract until 2024. Thus, you have to trade for John Gruden. Sean Payton. The reason why I said John Gruden is because of this. Remember the last time a Super Bowl winning coach got traded? And the reason why I use John Gruden is because Sean Payton and Gruden are kind of similar. Gruden was much younger when he won, but nonetheless, Super Bowl winning coaches, still a lot of coaching left to go. The Raiders had to give up 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, $8 million to get John Gruden. The Cowboys are going to have to trade for Sean Payton. That's a lot. I'm not saying it'll cost that. Bill Parcells was also traded for a very similar compensation. What is the tie there? Super Bowl winning head coach, established head coach, et cetera, et cetera. You could also say, well, what about the other routes? What about when Herm Edwards got traded? Yeah, Herm Edwards got traded for a 4th round pick, but it was Herm Edwards. Well, what about Bill Belichick? Bill Belichick wasn't Bill Belichick when he got traded just yet from the Jets to the Patriots. So, are you willing? Yeah, see, Dre said, I'm not interested in that range. This is the tricky part. Would love Sean Payton. Don't get me wrong. But Cowboys Nation, are you willing to jump this high to get him? Because if I'm the Saints, why would I give him up for anything less than a high ransom, right? Like, I don't have to trade him. I sit here and pay him. Whatever. I got the money. Would you be willing to give up multiple day 1, day 2 picks for Sean Payton? That's a tough one, Cowboys Nation. I really want to hear what y'all got to say about that.
Super chat.
And let me, because I missed some super chats yesterday. My apologies. B Bird with the $5 donation says JJ would have to make concessions to get him here because there'll be other suitors. Mike McCarthy came in on bended knees, so he had to take whatever JJ demanded. Well, we'll get to that next part, B Bird. The report that dropped yesterday, this actually almost happened. I'm gonna just say one name, take it with a grain of salt. Mike Florio. We'll get back in a second. Here's what the chat has to say. Nope, I wouldn't even give that up for Belichick. Because if he retires, they get nothing. Hell no. I'm giving up no draft picks for anyone. No. And see, that's the thing. Adrian says, yes, I would. That's the thing. How do you manage that, right? Because you got to trade for him. There's been, I believe in the last 20 years, 3 instances where Parcells, I want to say Holmgren and Gruden, Super Bowl winning coaches, were all traded for day 1 or day 2 or both day 1 and day 2 picks. That is, for a team that lives and breathes and dies on their draft picks, I think that is a lot to give up. Here's a catch-22. He might be the only coach that Jerry would be willing to just sit back and shut the hell up for. We talked about a lot of the. I like these other candidates out there, the Brian Flores, right? I like the Eric Bieniemys and all these guys. I like these candidates. But will Jerry just chill? Will Steven and Jerry kind of just chill and let them do them, or will they snip those guys as well? I don't think there's going to be any snip snap with Sean Payton. Don't think it is. But let me play this clip about how this almost happened. Now, there was a report that dropped. Again, take this how you want. It's kind of similar to PFF grades, right? If you're into him, you're into him. If you're into Mike Florio, Des Bryant tape, all that crap, cool. But listen to this. He dropped an article. I don't have the link or whatever, and I'm honestly not going to share the link, but you can search it yourself. But I'm going to play this audio from 105 through the Fan, G-Bag Nation. Gavin Dawson was reading a little bit of the article. If this is true, this is what made me say, whoa. Then this has more legs than we thought. Listen to this audio talking about how this almost happened and the weird thing that shut it all down.
Okay, so for Mike Florio, the Cowboys had won 10 of 16 games along with a wild card contest against the Seahawks at the end of the 2018 season. They lost to the Rams in the divisional round, 30-22. Jerry contemplated an upgrade from Coach Jason Garrett to Sean Payton. Jones wanted to pull the trigger, and Payton did too. This is right when the Saints are trying to win it all. This was before that organization had, fallen on some tough times as far as winning. Things unfolded quickly. The Saints had played in the NFC Championship, losing to the Rams on the 20th that week. Jones quietly made his move. It was a delicate situation for various reasons. First, the Cowboys had a coach. Jones wouldn't have fired Garrett unless he knew he could have gotten Payton. Second, league rules, specifically the Rooney Rule, require a diverse and inclusive search. Third, Jones had to ultimately know that after going through the motions of a search, he'd be able to get Payton. So a deal was worked out behind the scenes. The Saints would have allowed the Cowboys to hire Payton. The Cowboys would have compensated the Saints for the rights to Payton's contract, and Payton would have signed a new deal with the Cowboys. It was ready to go. It was happening. It was locked, and it was loaded. Then came Monday, January 28th. On that day, Pelicans forward Anthony Davis announced he would not sign another contract with the team. He requested a trade.
Damn you, Anthony.
Oh, no. New Orleans loyalty where he was like, the city needs me?
Well, the story goes, Gail Benson owns both the Pelicans and the Saints. Saints GM Mickey Loomis was, as of January 19, the executive VP of operations with the Pelicans. Once Davis made his intentions clear to leave New Orleans, Loomis told Payton Loomis couldn't be the common thread between a pair of such high-profile Louisiana departures. And that ended it. You're going to trade Anthony Davis and lose Sean Payton in the same offseason? What the hell are you doing, Gail? You're going to make everybody here hate you. And just like that, the Saints were no longer interested in essentially trading Payton to the Cowboys. In September, Payton signed a new contract. The deal now has 3 years left on it. So that's a little bit of background. And it's interesting, that Jerry would have been willing to move on from Jason Garrett.
That close. Dallas was that close to already having Sean Payton on this team. We talked about earlier this week, backdoor deals like this. These things are common. I think it was last week actually too, where these backdoor things, I think with Dan Quinn, someone said, hey, should we hurry up? Listen, there's contingencies behind the scenes happening right now. But this report kind of opens up a little bit of a new light. Now, it's Mike Florio. So take it how you want. It's an amazing story. It's actually a believable story. Loomis is tied with the Pelicans. Their ownership is tied with the Saints. That city is a prideful city. What Sean did for that city is honestly, it's not too many coaches since he took over with the Saints that have done what he's done for a city and for a franchise. The Saints were awful. Saints were terrible. That city went through what it went through after Katrina, and he comes in there and he does what he does for that city. And to lose him and AD in the same offseason would be tough. So it's a believable story, but it's Mike Florio. So I don't know how real it is. We can pretend that if it is real, then this whole thing has real legs to it. That close, Cowboys Nation, to having Sean Payton. And if they were that close 4 years ago, when both teams were on the up and up, we heard Jerry be mad on Friday, right? What was the question I posed? It's cool, you mad, but are you mad to make a change? Are you mad enough to make a change? This is the one. This is the one to be mad enough to make a change for, but it's easier said than done. Do you want to give up multiple first-round picks? I see some people had said if it's 24-32, oh, well, sure. Right. I'm going to show you this again here. I'm not saying this is going to be it. 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks. The money, who cares about the money? 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks. That is hefty, Cowboys Nation. That's hefty. And I love some Sean Payton. And I know there's a lot of, on Twitter, comparing Sean Payton and Mike McCarthy. Guys, the mantra, y'all know what it is. Context matters. You can't put the numbers up next to them and say these coaches are the same. They are not. In my opinion, they are absolutely not. What Sean Payton did for that franchise, what Sean Payton did for Drew Brees, right? Sean Payton, we know how he's going to call plays. He's going to come up with an offense, et cetera, et cetera. He knows how to utilize his Alvin Kamaras and Ingrams and Taysom Hills and speedy guys. two and totally different coaches to me, just similar resumes. But I don't think it's fair to say these are the same guys. They're not the same guys. Their resumes look similar, but the process to get to that is not, in my opinion. That makes sense. And Below said he's not mad at all. Yeah, right? Like, if you mad, make a change. All right, before we move on to grading these coaches, let's get the phone line, see what you guys got to say about this whole situation. 678, what it is, what it do.
Morning. How you doing, man, Scott?
Good morning, man. How are you?
All right, doing great. Yeah, I just want to touch up on the coaching. Just saying that, like,
Sure.
I'm glad that you played that article because the first time I heard it, pretty much was Jeff Kavanaugh. Pretty much he was saying that it was interesting both of Jerry wanted Sean Payton anyways, and that with this happening yesterday, my first reaction was like, I know that he's gonna just take at least 1 year off. Thinking that he might end up coming back next year, and it could be, but if things don't work out with Mike McCarthy, with his coach staff, it's right now I don't see nothing like anything else new, any changes, whatever happen, except for Dan Quinn, pretty much he's gonna leave, but it's like we're gonna still continue to have this coach staff. I mean, it's looking like they're gonna choosing to lose again next season and then just hop on the Sean Payton thing.
Jerry is setting it up for that stage, or the league is setting it up for that stage, or whatever. It's getting to that point where if this coaching staff doesn't get it done and they run this back, I highly, highly doubt you're going to see that coaching staff come back in 2023. You could see Jerry make a move.
Oh, yeah, something like that, how very upset he is. Yeah, I know, right? And he was just saying, like, he have a lot to think about, and I see why I see any changes. I mean, yeah, man, you have a lot. You have a lot to think about, I know, man, but it's just the one thing that he forgot to do was when he hired Mike McCarthy was he forgot to let Kellen go. Because that's just, that was the one last thing that he forgot to do.
He ain't forget.
Go ahead.
You know he ain't forget. That was part of the plan. You forget your keys on the counter. You forget where you put the remote. You forget. Oh, I got $5 bill in my pocket. You don't forget you got your boy Wonder as offensive coordinator, right? Like that was purposeful.
Yeah, true about that too as well. I was just saying that like that was just the one last thing he had need to at least do because that was his last mistake of promoting Kellen Moore, handing to him that job to him so easily, and that's why he can't even do interviews that well. That's another thing that Jeff Kavanaugh that he knows the inside about that he just and Kellen Moore he's not even good at interviews. No, and Jeff was saying that he said he know that he didn't do well in an interview in Boise State. What you about to say? What you about to say, Scott?
I think he could have. I don't think Boise turned him down. I think he turned Boise down, and I have a feeling it was due to Jerry and the Cowboys behind the scenes saying, "Hey, very Jason Garrett-ish, you can stay here, keep learning. You're still a little bit green, keep learning, and you could be the coach of either A, the Cowboys, which we would love, or B, a coach in the NFL." And what happens? He comes out like gangbusters, on fire, becomes the hottest offensive coordinator in the land, and then he gets figured out, kind of tails off, but he still is getting interviews for head coaching positions. Now, Jerry can't control that Kellen can't speak to people in these interviews, but if he comes out next year and the offense does figure out a counterpunch, then likely he'll land a head coaching job somewhere. But again, I'd be okay if he did that now, but unfortunately it doesn't look that way.
Right. See, yeah, and that is true. He definitely did that. It's just that also I'm just touching up also too more on that too as well that he still had went to the interview on that, and Jeff Kavanaugh said that the insider about that his interview didn't go well too. And after the Jerry, proposed everything, whatever the contract situation, whatever with it, he also still interviewed a head coach job for the Eagles too.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So, and just one more last thing. I'm with you too, Scott. It's gonna be very hard for me next year, man, to move along. If this same coach staff will be here next year,
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be hard for me, man. I don't, I don't even know. I really don't know what to do, man. It's gonna be the first question to ask myself is, am I really gonna watch Cowboy football that much next year? That's gonna be the first type of question I ever asked in my entire life as being a Dallas Cowboy fan.
See,
So that's all, man.
And I ain't mad at you, brother. That's what happens when you're in your front office takes your fans for granted, in my opinion. That's what happens. You lost the hope. All the hope is gone, and you're going to have fans like you who say, man, screw the Cowboys for real. I'm not really going to pay attention to them. And I can't even be mad at you for that because they're continuing to do the same things over and over and over.
Over and over, man. But yeah, I don't want to talk too much, man. I want you to go ahead and get your more calls in, man.
Thanks,
I
brother.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Good call. Corinne said, you could bring the ghost of Lombardi, Paul Brown, Mike McCarthy would still screw up. Alex, interesting point. He said Mike McCarthy needed Kellen Moore. Imagine if he didn't have Moore, Mike McCarthy would be fired by now. Kellen is saving Mike's job. It's possible. That kind of goes. I'm gonna intertwine it with this. I have no idea what Mike McCarthy would be like as the play caller, game plan installer, et cetera, in this new era of Mike McCarthy because we never got a chance to see it. Just never did. We know he had success doing it before when he had a good quarterback and good team and things like that. It worked, right? Got stale, took a year back, and he said he came back and did this and did that. But how do we know? One of the things that he revealed in that exit interview was that whoever installs it calls it. Obviously, we knew Kellen Moore had a lot to say about the install of the game. You can see it in how the game was called, the plays, etc. But there was a part of me that believed Mike McCarthy had something to do, a little bit of something with the install. Sound like to me he's kind of pushing it off. Hey, nah, that's Kellen. Hey, Kellen, install it and call it. I'm just walk around head coach. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know what he would do if he was just the guy. Very, very good point. Peasy said Kellen never move up through the ranks like these other coaches. That's the MO of the Dallas Cowboys organization over the last 2007. So what? 15 years. Right? 15 years. When Jerry has his teeth sunk into his guy by hook or crook, he's going to get him to where he wants to get them to. Cowboys may have caught a break with Payton. Problem is draft capital. What will it take to get him here? And what I mean is they caught a break. If there was no Sean Payton, I don't know that Jerry would deviate from his evil plan, which is to get Kellen Moore to be the head coach of this team. Payton can interrupt that. We may need Payton to interrupt that. But I'm still thinking this through. That's why I'm talking out with y'all. I don't know how comfortable I am yet on giving up multiple picks like that. 3rd, 4th rounds, 5th, 6th, whatever. I don't care. 1s and 2s for a team that is not going to go out and sign free agents, for a team that's not going to replace that 1st and 2nd round pick with a Pro Bowler or what have you, or a young up and coming guy that may cost you a couple bucks. That worries me because they live and die and breathe on the draft. So it's going to take me some time to come around to that. And unfortunately, this is going to hang over the Cowboys' heads for an entire season. We'll get to Marcus, and then we'll do our first grading of the coaches. What's up, Marcus?
What's going on, big dog?
Not much, man. Got this this rumor, not rumor, but this report dropped on our heads yesterday that had me saying, really?
Let's go down the rabbit hole, Brother Sky, because Brother Sky is too fly for the clouds. He's too down for the green grass. That's why they call him Skywalker. But let's go down this rabbit hole.
Shit.
You got to believe. Are you a spiritual man? Are you spiritual?
Spiritual. I love that word, spiritual, yes.
Okay, not necessarily religious.
Not religious.
Are you spiritual?
Spirit. I'm not the most religious, but more spiritual, yes.
Very spiritual. Okay. Well, If you're spiritual like me, then you believe that all steps are ordered. Nothing happens by chance or luck. Everything happens like it's supposed to happen, right? This is the first step. Come down the rabbit hole with me, Cowboy Nation. First step, that exit interview, Mike McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
He threw the entire team under the bus.
And
All his players, his coaches,
and his coach, yeah.
Everybody under the bus.
He did.
He took zero responsibility, zero accountability. I've never seen anything like that in my life from a head football coach in the NFL. I've never seen that. That's step one. That's when you lost the team. See, you lost the team after that exit interview. The team is gone. So you have officially made yourself a lame duck coach. Here's number two. Come down the rabbit hole a little bit further.
Okay.
He's already alienated himself from his players and his coaching staff. What does Jerry Jones do? Keeps that entire coaching staff basically intact and said, we're going to run it back again next year, even though I'm upset. That's step two. So basically, he's not giving you any windows for improvement. He's saying that even though we failed to reach our goal, I'm going to give you that same opportunity to bring these guys back on the offensive side, because Mike McCarthy is an offensive guy. But as you noted, everybody's getting picked off from our defensive staff. Dan Quinn, Joe Witt Jr., Al Harris, all these guys that were beneficial to our defense, they're about to get plucked. So now you're hampering the part of your team that improved the most, and you're just going to let that happen. And then you're going to keep the offensive coaching staff basically intact. So now when you can go to the NFC Championship game and lose, you're going to be fired.
Oh, 100%.
And not only are you going to be fired, not only are you going to be fired, you're going to give Kellen Moore the opportunity to redeem himself for a potential head coaching job elsewhere. Not here, elsewhere. In the meantime, you got this guy talking about, I don't believe in retirement. I think I'm just going to sit back and recharge for a year. You don't think that man is plotting and planning on what he can do in Dallas?
100%.
With the talent that we have?
He loves
here?
Dak.
Loves Dak.
You
He's
listen to
never
him talk
said
about Dak. Oh my gosh, he just gushes over.
Bro.
And do you really? And I kind of peeped this a little bit. I like a lot of us peeped this in the what is that film that they do this in the off season with the what's it called, y'all? You know what I'm talking about? Where they come around, so each team every year, HBO Hard Knocks. I had a brain fart.
Hard Knocks.
So you can peep on Hard Knocks the relationship between Dak and Mike McCarthy. What was it?
Adversarial.
Okay. You think
I would say it was adversarial.
You think it'd be that way with Sean?
Hell no.
Right.
Hell no. And that's what I said. He's going to be all recharging means for Sean Payton is, I got to take what I already know as an offensive mastermind, because I've been doing it for 16 years. What can I tweak with Dak? Because, see, I had Drew Brees basically was a 5'10" statue. Didn't really scramble, didn't really move around a whole lot. I got this big freak of an athlete at quarterback, and I have a all-world running back, 2 running backs. I have an offensive line that I can easily retool and get that right and fit my scheme to my players. And then I can bring in my own defensive guys, because remember, these last few years he's been in New Orleans, that defense has been pretty damn stout. Let's just that front four, that front seven, pretty damn stout. And they played very, very hard for Sean Payton.
Dennis, well, let's give credit to Dennis Allen for the defense.
Yeah, Dennis Allen.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Sean Payton, but I meant for Dennis Allen.
But part of building as a head coach, you got to hire the right people, and he did. He did with Dennis Allen. So
yeah. Right. That's what I'm saying. So although I looked at it as Sean Payton and Mike McCarthy, if you look at their playoff record, you look at their regular season record, it's damn near identical. But when you're talking about
context matters, man.
And context matters, and talking about actual schemes, like I've seen this man use very, I would say, average talent and put a scheme together that makes these guys look way above average. He had Jameis Winston looking way above average. He had Taysom Hill in games looking way above average, because he had the proper scheme to put his players in a position to be successful. Were they always successful? No. But were they in positions to be successful? You better believe it.
Yeah.
So I believe all of this is methodical. It's going to basically, I look at this year, this upcoming year, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, Scott. I look at this upcoming year. This is going to be the sacrificial lamb year. No matter what you do, Mike McCarthy, outside of a Super Bowl victory, not Super Bowl and you lose or you barely lose or you get beaten senseless, outside of a Super Bowl victory, you're done in Dallas.
Yeah,
is
anyone content with this season going one and done in the playoffs, regardless of the record?
Exactly.
Serious question. You happy with that?
I'm not happy with that. Like the previous caller just said, Scott, I don't know how I'm going to feel about looking at regular season Dallas Cowboy football this upcoming season. Show me in the playoffs.
Facts.
And don't even show me in the wild card. Don't show me in the divisional round. Don't even show me in the NFC Championship game.
I mean, one step at a time.
One step at a time.
Win a day,
like,
win a couple playoffs. We haven't won a couple playoff games since 1995. I don't know how you can feel okay about what happened this year, how it ended. The process up to it, cool. How it ended was another one and done. Another can't get past the divisional round. How are we okay with that? We can't be okay with that.
Just imagine how ecstatic we were when we beat Seattle. I was screaming up the wall when we beat Seattle. I was screaming because I'm like, finally, they're turning the step. I mean, they're turning the next page. They're finally doing it. And then the next week was the following week, and I got brought back down to earth. But this year stung a little bit different because I believe that this team, with the guys that we brought in, they truly bought into the process, and it just, when it went kaput like that, I talked to a number of Cowboy fans, and they were just like, man, this is, I don't even have any emotion right now. Like, they weren't even upset. It was just like a real eerie calm that happened.
But
you're
right.
Like I said, man, I think all steps are ordered, bro. Mike McCarthy's on this. This is his last year. Outside of a Super Bowl victory, he's done in Dallas. This recharge year for Sean Payton, all he's doing, he's going into the lab. He's like, what can I do to tweak my things for, I got Zeke, I got Pollard, I got
Marcus.
Dak. I'm just saying. But salute to you, bro.
All right, man. Appreciate you, dog.
All right.
Yeah, I get we're 12-5 and everything, y'all, but cares? You lost in the playoffs. Like, I'm trying to say this as nice as possible because I wasn't expecting to lose in the playoffs. That wasn't my expectations. Going 12-5 to me was not a shocker. That didn't shock me. I had this team as a double-digit win team. The most shocking thing about the team to me was the defensive turnaround. That was a shocker. So with that said, first up on the grading scale here. We did this at mid-season. Now we're going to do this since the season's over. I know we just crapped on Mike McCarthy, so I can imagine what this is going to be. Grade Mike McCarthy, 2021/2022 season. See what you guys got to say. What would you give him a grade? From A to F. Now, guys, don't get crazy and talk about F. It wasn't an F season, but yeah. Where do y'all sit on Mike McCarthy coming out of this year? Remember, Mike McCarthy team was 6-10 last year after losing Dak Prescott. 12-5 this year, one and done in the playoffs. Game management was a thing that came up constantly over the year, and then we found out that team got nervous in the playoffs, and you got to include the playoffs. You got to include the playoffs in this situation, right? You don't ignore that. So where you got? D, C, B, B minus, D. I feel like D's harsh. Scruggs said, I heard someone say we had a great season. Great is tough. We had a good season, but it's all we've really been over the last 25. Good enough. I care at the Super Bowl. D says Terry, C minus. B minus. Mike Fish calls us spoiled because we expect better. Oh, well, listen, Mike. C plus, B minus. He turned it around, just couldn't finish. 12-5 was shocking to me, not to me. Defense was way better than expected, and I had them. You know what was more shocking? 7-1 was shocking. I think it was 7-1 we won. That was a bit shocking. I didn't think we were going to come out and be 7-1. C plus, D, B minus. Better than Garrett. Garrett had 13-3 season twice. Or no, once. A lot of C's. We'll go ahead and we'll take all these. This looks like a C plus when you put them all together. I could live with that. C plus, B minus. Listen, I just got on Mike McCarthy, but I'm not silly. The season wasn't some complete, awful, terrible season. You know what I mean? So I'll go C plus, B minus in that range for Mike McCarthy. That exit interview kind of made me look at him sideways. That playoff game really frustrated me because you came out extremely slow. The penalty continued to be an undisciplined team. But he attempted to make changes, right? The offensive line situation at left guard, the right tackle situation, which we'll get to that position in a minute, or that position coach in a minute. The sour taste, I think, is what can easily knock that down to a C plus. It could have been an easy B minus. Even if you lost that game, right? Like, I wouldn't even be mad if you just lost the game in a more competitive way. The way you lost that playoff game to me made me say, man, listen, it was starting to get to a point where it was about to feel like some 34-9 Minnesota Viking playoff feel, but eventually, credit, in my opinion, Dan Quinn, they started to corral that Niners offense, and where Mike McCarthy's supposed to be special on the offense side of the ball, they never got going until the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth. And that happened, y'all, far too often against these better teams. Think about it. Denver, the Cardinals, the Niners. They just didn't get it going until the end of the game there. So, yeah, I'll go C plus, B minus in that range. A lot of D's here, though. What's up, Glenn? How you ranking? How you grading Mike McCarthy?
Yeah, it's funny. You totally stole my thunder. I'm right there, C plus, B minus. I think had we won at least one playoff game, then he's in B plus, and then he's going up from there. But the fact that we kind of got the break speed off, even though we lost by 6, the game really felt like that. Yeah. No. Yeah. So I think we're on the same page. So regarding this whole Sean Payton thing, I think when I look at Mike McCarthy, I do think, to be fair, and life's not fair, but let's just try to look at this. I think his first year when he was here, he didn't know this roster, right? You don't really know a roster. You don't really know who can do what until you're up close and personal going through the course of the season. You really don't know who can do what. So the first year you throw it out to a certain extent. This really was Mike McCarthy's first year as far as...
Let me interject real quick. I don't think you throw it out because of the roster. I think you throw it out because of the injuries. You lost your franchise.
Or COVID. How about that?
Sure. We can use COVID too. COVID and the injury. You know what? I won't use COVID because there was other teams that have first year head coaches during COVID. I think the injury. I'll give him an asterisk because you lost your franchise quarterback and then you lost your tackles and you kept going and going and going. So I'll give him an asterisk for year one. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. That's fair. That's fair. This year, everything was kind of rolling through the first half, and we talked about this before. I think what has to happen, the second half of the year, they just started to fall apart. And again, I still point to the offensive line. What I really would have liked to see between Mike McCarthy and Kellen, and maybe I think that's what this offseason is going to present, a great opportunity, because both of these guys really need to shore up their warts. They're on the hot seat. Kellen is looking at the fact that he's getting these interviews, but he's not really getting serious offers. There are some warts there. There are some issues there, and this is an opportunity for both Kellen and McCarthy to get in the quote-unquote lab and figure out, hey, we got to figure out and solve this riddle. But the million-dollar question is the reluctance to run. Was it because we are philosophically sort of biased against running, or is it because we can't run? I would argue, again, this offensive line, even with Zeke's issues, I didn't see a whole lot of holes, right? When you look at the successful runs that Pollard had, he was getting on the edge, which, he's a speed back. But even the inside running, he was able to do that in the first half of the year. It's the second half of the year when this offensive line, especially on the left side, from the center to the left side, it really kind of broke down. So I'd like to see that once they fix that, assuming they can address that, I would like to see both Kellen and McCarthy together address that issue with respect to running the football, because then you have a complete playbook open. You're able to sustain drives.
But you
don't stress your defense out, and you don't stress your quarterbak out, because when you can't run, you're stressing other areas of your team out.
See, I can't let him off the hook. Can't let him off the hook. Here's why. Yes, the offensive line obviously definitely has some struggles. Like, there's no doubt about it. But there's other offensive lines in this league that aren't these great, just Pro Bowlers up and down the line, and they still are able to be efficient on the ground. Remember, we talked about it, Glenn, how many times this year once we started getting weird. I don't need you to have 175 yards a game. What I need you to do, though, is become efficient when you do run, right? And there are ways to help your offensive line via schematically. There are ways to do it via play calling. There are ways to do it in preparation. And I didn't see that. When your offensive line was struggling, you know what they decided to do, Glenn? We're just going to go in shotgun. We're going to, you man up on your man. We're going to run up the A-gap. How is that helping a struggling offensive line? You know what I mean? Like, you know what? We're going up against one of the best pass rushing units. We're just going to drop Dak back for, 5-step drops with 5 men in protection. How is that helping your offensive line? There's no pocket movement, right? There's no rollouts. There's no slants. And where is the coaching, right? Like, at some point, you're going to run up against teams that match up with you talent-wise. That's where coaching comes into place. I said this so many times. The Cowboys, for a while under Garrett, and even as we saw maybe this year, when they go up against teams that are they're inferior to or don't have as much talent as them, they can whoop on them just on the talent alone. But when you run up against a good team, good coaching, or a smart defensive coordinator, what have you, the coaching comes into play now, because talent and talent will match and will be even. Where the difference is Vance Joseph against Kellen Moore, right? D'Amico Ryans against Kellen Moore, right? Dennis Allen against Kellen Moore. The coaching, Jason Garrett against Sean McVay. You know what I mean? That part of it matters. And I know I'm long-winded with this answer, but I think the run game still could have been efficient had they stuck with what worked and they just stopped. Where was the pin and pulls, Glenn? Where was the attacking the edges? Where was the sweeps? That stuff you don't need to have Pro Bowlers to do that. And I digress. I'm sorry.
No, listen. Those are valid. Those are valid points. And I think, listen, I can't argue with that. I would like to give them this offseason, and obviously it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
They're going to have the offseason. Every coaching staff does. But if they don't address some of those issues that you're talking about, because, yeah, you're right, we can't put it all on personnel because the personnel was sufficient to move on, then I think we'll find out, well, who is what, and is there really going to be Kellen Moore is going to be around football no matter what, but the question is he able to rehabilitate? Because that's really what he needs to kind of do, is sort of rehab the outlook on him. Because essentially, after that Denver game, the quote-unquote blueprint was actually there, and some of us kind of laughed at it, and some of us said, you know what? I think there's something there, and so I digress. But there really is a question as to whether they can actually get together, do some self-scouting, fix some of those issues you're talking about.
Yeah, McCarthy was in the
barn.
barn.
Great show.
He was in a barn 2 years ago. You got to go back in that barn, Glenn.
Agreed. I'll keep listening and let you get to some other callers.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. Yeah, they're going to have to go back into that barn and figure out this a way to attack. Again, we definitely laughed and scoffed at the blueprint. The thing is, the reason why I laughed at that part, the blueprint situation, was because when Dak was describing what they were doing specifically to them, it was the man up, stop the run thing. And to at that point in time, it was, oh my God, please leave us on an island out there and blitz me, please. Because I love to get one-on-ones with these guys. But that wasn't the part. That wasn't the blueprint. The blueprint was within that game. And it was the disguising of middle field open to middle field close to middle field open, moving the safeties around. When you think about, go back and look at these teams, when you have a safety that had the ability to do that, that's what gave this passing offense a little bit more issues. I mean, even if you go all the way back to the Chargers game, which we didn't get off in the air. I mean, he was very efficient because we just took underneath and ran him to death. Once we weren't able to run, we got a little greedy. Team said, okay, we'll just disguise it. They want to do this, we'll pretend we're doing this and we're doing that. And it confused Dak Prescott. We didn't have a counter to it. And I think within that Denver game was the true blueprint, but not the overall basis of that game, which was we're going to man up, be physical with these wide receivers, yada, yada, yada. I think if teams continued to do that throughout the year, we would have got right back on pace, in my opinion, because those guys one-on-one with only one safety at the top, that's easier to deal with. And it's easier for Dak to know where to go with the ball, as opposed to rushing forward, putting 7, and making them have to go through the progressions until someone's open in a passing scheme that is time-based. You have to wait till You have to wait till they get open. North of the Star. What's up, man?
How's it going, Scott? Been a while.
Yeah, I haven't heard from you in a while.
I've been watching. Don't worry. Yeah,
what you got for the show?
Same thing. You guys are nailing it all right now. I always give a little bit of leeway. I'm always the one more patient and waiting. And I thought McCarthy was doing an adequate job. And whenever I called in, I kept mentioning those 3 big games we had. Like it was Tampa, KC, and at the end of the year it was Arizona. And I kept giving him second chances. And to me now, looking back, and then you lost to San Fran in such an embarrassing way. And then to hear his press conference at the end of the year where you're saying your number one priority is penalties, was that the only issue you've seen with this team? So this stuff kind of, and I'm already coming from Sean Payton's view, so yeah, I'm going to be more biased that way. But to me, I think it would be, I would do it. I would hate to see Sean Payton have a chance at Sean Payton and he goes somewhere else.
Yeah, to me, it all comes down to compensation. If you can get Sean for the low, yeah, absolutely. But if it's going to cost you multiple day 1, day 2 picks, again, as I said earlier, for a team that doesn't go in free agency, you're going to need those picks. So that makes me kind of go, I don't know. It's a catch-22 though, because maybe Sean's the only guy that can kind of rein in. I say rein in like he's a madman, but that Jerry can step back and have more trust or faith in than his previous yes men type of head coaches.
Yeah, I'm obviously hoping we don't give up too many day 1 picks, but I think what Sean Payton has proved, and as you were pointing out before, McCarthy and him, the record looks the same. But let's not think that Breeze is a great quarterback, Hall of Fame for sure, but he's not Rodgers. Like Rodgers, we're so fresh off everyone wanting to say, oh, Dak wasn't Josh Allen. He's not going to beat Patrick Mahomes. Well, Drew Brees wasn't Peyton Manning. He wasn't Tom Brady. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He made a game plan for 15 years around his quarterback's abilities. And really, the last 2-3 years, was Breeze really – so to me, this is the coach showing, and we've seen it here. He came in and beat us with a backup quarterback. He's won with Teddy Bridgewater, Taysom Hill. So to me, this is a guy that obviously knows how to work around his players. He's gonna be trenches are important to him because if you look at Saints pick, a lot of linemen, a lot of D linemen. I like the way he built the team. He can find his skill players late. He doesn't need to use. He'll come up with a plan to use them. He has little Jordan Pumphrey. He gets all these Darren Sproles no one wanted, and he makes these roles for him, and they're so dangerous.
Yeah.
So for me, Sean Payton is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we would love to have Sean. You just said it. He knows how to utilize his guys. He knows how to get his guys. I think he can coach. He can coach talent above their talent, if that makes sense, right? He makes players better. I mean, listen, I watched him go to the Super Bowl. If you go look at that roster, it wasn't littered with 13 Pro Bowlers. It wasn't. And they had good players, but Sean Payton was a big part of that. And earlier, I forget who it was, they were like, hey, man, year one, it is year one. Nothing great ever happens. Year one in New Orleans, Sean Payton went to the NFC Championship game. Year one. So I think he could come in here very quickly and help put your team over the top as a true NFC contender for years to come.
Yeah, and even if you add context and you go back and look at even those last playoff losses of the Saints, you have the Stephon Diggs miracle play, which was it really on a coach? That was clearly a mistake by players. You had the no call in the Rams game. Like there was some sticky stuff, but he was there always competing. And the only thing that goes when I'm going back to McCarthy and the way he ended the season, and it's just like we were asking all year, what is he doing as a head coach, right? And he says that thing about the offense, but at what point do you feel like your job is online? You got to tell Kellen Moore, hey, let's get Pollard in the game and get him. Like everybody was thinking it, seeing it, but like I know you're not. Even if you don't want to call the plays, you get on the mic and you like.
I'm with you.
You should know the knowledge. You should go. Yeah, and even like these games where it's struggling, what would it take to take back the play calling for a half to see if you can get it going?
Oh, he ain't going. That'll. So I fans always say that like, oh, well, you call the play. That almost never happens. Especially your offense will almost have to be the worst in the league for that. That just never happens, right? So I'm with you on the first part. Why not be more vocal about what works for this team? And I did a remark here, snip, because he got snipped. You know what I mean? He got snipped. And Kellen Moore probably has more say, I should say, than Mike McCarthy, if we're being real.
Yeah, and I know Dak deserves obviously his fair share of blame. I do believe, just knowing Dak, if you follow him year in, year out since he's been in the league, he's going to go work on that short game. He's going to go figure out something to come back better next year.
Yeah, that's one thing we know for sure, yeah.
Yeah, so we just got to see. I guess it is going to be a lame duck year, but realistically, like, that was one thing I was thinking. I was like, oh, this really sucks because I don't want it to be a lame duck. But really, in McCarthy, it is Super Bowl. That's what he was brought here to do. So, yeah, I don't know if that you got to take more control in the off season. If you want to be the head coach, be the head. You basically got a year, so you know what's on the line. I think looking around the league, I think everyone would say Dallas' roster is just as talented as some of these other teams.
100%.
Yeah, and we're gonna see. And we're gonna see. I don't know if Tom Brady's gonna retire. If Roger leaves Green Bay, you're gonna have about 5 great tests next year because we're gonna have a first place schedule. Like I said, Tom Brady can retire and Aaron Rodgers can change those things. But I'm gonna be really looking at like you can't do over next year. You can't not beat any of those great teams, else you might not even make the playoffs.
No, you're right. Those I believe they're both on the schedule too, aren't they?
Right now they're just playing Brady, Rodgers.
Well, I'm talking about the Bucks and the Packers. I believe they're on the schedule, aren't they?
Yeah, they're on the schedule, but there's the rumors that Rodgers going to leave.
I know. What I'm getting at is if they're on the schedule and those quarterbacks are not there, that whole vaunted schedule thing, which I looked at the schedule, I don't understand. I mean, it's got about 11 games you can win and then the 6 other really competitive games. That's kind of just like this year's schedule. But if you take away the Packers quarterbacks, then that becomes extremely favored on the side of not many great teams on that schedule. So, yeah, it could favor Dallas again next year. But again, I hate to look at schedules because a lot changes between now and September.
Yeah, and that's why I don't want to look because we don't know what's going to be on it. So I'm just saying those games now against those, there's no you need to figure something because those good teams are going to come at you the exact same way, and you need to be able to answer it. Else, Sean Payton's going to already be on speed dial. Never mind at the end of the year, So it's up to McCarthy. He's controlling his own destiny. I'm going to say that because to me, I believe Dallas should have been able to be playing even this weekend.
Without a doubt.
Green Bay opened up and just went down the field. First thing I looked over my way, I was like, Jesus, what the heck? We couldn't even do this once.
Man, I guarantee you a better coached team that day. I'm not saying over the entire season, just that day they win that game, right? I mean, they just weren't ready.
Yeah.
But all right, North, I'm gonna get going here, brother.
All right, take it easy, Stan. We'll talk to you.
Appreciate you, man. All right, let's get moving to the second grades that I want to get to, and that's with one Kellen Moore. It's an interesting one here. Kellen Moore, where do you grade the young phenom, as he was dubbed, right? The pizza boy. Paper boy, I think is what they were calling him. Kellen Moore, where you at with the grade here? D, D plus, C, D. I mean, I kind of knew this was going to happen. Whoo-wee. I like that one, Alpha Mason. Our guy Koye calls it all the time. I'm going to give him a B for beta. B for beta, huh? F. Yeah, y'all a tough crowd, boy. C, some D's. C plus. N A, says Bloat Evans. D for disaster, F minus. Here's what I'm gonna do. It's a culmination of two different things with Kellen Moore that equate to this C plus. I'm giving him a C plus. The reason why it's a C plus is because the first 7 weeks of the season, 6 weeks, whatever it was, is about an A, right? I think we did this before. I think it was about an A, B plus at the highest. But those last 11 games, or the second half of the year or whatever, that was rough. And I'm going to be hard on him because I didn't see the counter. So if I'm going to give him an A, B plus in the first half, and then like a D in the second half, I think that equals out to a C plus. The offense through weeks 1 through 6, 31 points per game, about 32 points per game, top 3 in rushing offense. And even if you take, I think there were 2 touchdowns at the beginning of that year on defense. I think it was Trayvon Diggs. Even then, you're still talking about high 20s, right? Then you look at the last 11 games. You say, oh, man, 26 points per game. That's not bad. 50 points against Washington's COVID team, Scabs. And then Philly, you put up 50 points against Philly's practice squad. Just be real. If you take out those 2 games, which most rational Cowboys fans say, listen, 20 points per game. That ain't going to cut it. Scored 22 against Arizona. You scored 9 against KC and KC. That's rough against those good teams, right? So I think between the first and second half, I think it comes out to about a C plus. And he has the potential to be much higher than that. We know that. He's not dumb. Kellen's not dumb. He's young. He's still low-key kind of green, maybe a little bit stubborn in his ways. But right now, and even then when they hired him, I probably would have got a more experienced guy in here. But he was here, and he was doing well. And I thought, naively, I would totally 100% admit it. I thought, all right, cool. They figured him out. Whatever. He'll counter. Smart dude. Never did. So I gotta put it on him a little bit. So I got C plus. D, C plus. What you smoking? Let me have. But I explain my reason, Dre. I explain my reason because the first half of the year I gotta give him credit. I mean, the scheme was working because no one caught up to it just yet. So I give him credit. But he ain't counter, so that's where I come down hard. D minus says Tony. B minus. TC said you too kind. But for real though, right? Like, I mean, I can't ignore the first 7 games of the year. And TC said D only because of the first 6 weeks. F because of no adjustments later, says Glenn. That's where I can understand there being a harsh grade on him because of that ability, that lack of ability to adjust. And then the beta aspect of Kellen Moore too. And someone else said something in here that we've been talking about for a while with Dak and Kellen and the friendship thing. I don't think that is going. I mean, obviously it works for them too, but is it the best for the team? I think it needs somebody in here that is not Dak Prescott's friend, or somebody in here that Dak Prescott isn't the alpha too, if that makes sense. He your coach. And I feel like, what can he really tell Dak? Yeah, exactly, Swaggy D. How did we do when it mattered? That and that's part of it, you know. I probably should have brought up the other teams, the Denver game, all the teams we lost to aside from the week 1 of the season. If you look at the points per game in that game, they're pretty low, except what was it? Las Vegas. So yeah, man. Give you a C+, Kellen. 361. You were holding. What's up, 361? 361 going once. Yes. Okay, that's your name. What's up, Dennis?
Hey, not too much. I like the way you call my name out, man. Choop on on the shout out so you do on Facebook. Now listen, man, just talking about everything that's going on with the coaches and their responsibility and accountability. Just calling it like I see it, just as being a fan since 1976, man, is that I think McCarthy he dropped the ball. He sits up in key. I made some comments on that on Twitter and other pages. The fact that he said that he knows how to win, he kept that in his pocket. He said the guys were, nervous and stuff before the prayer. Why didn't he get the team together? His hands-off approach is exactly why I believe Green Bay cut him. He was hands-off the whole time. He stood around. Kellen Moore had an opportunity, but Kellen Moore needed to be put in place several times as well.
Yeah.
And there comes a time when a coach has to step up and intervene. He's a head coach with a title for a reason. That's just my opinion.
No, you're absolutely right. And I was thinking about this before I came onto the show because we have been saying that for a while. A lot of you guys have been saying that, Sky. Why can't McCarthy step in and say something to Kellen or, allow his voice to be loud and boisterous and make a change? Well, when you get snipped, how can he? Right? And then let's let it trickle down a little bit. Okay. So technically we talk about McCarthy's voice being snipped. Well, in a way, Kellen's voice is kind of snipped when it comes to Dak Prescott. Because what is Kellen really saying to Dak? Right? And we need it. How many times did we say we need somebody in that room to tell Dak, yo, forget that damn play call. If this is the look, go here. Yo, I know I said this, but throw it here, right? There isn't that voice in that room. And I just said it before. Kellen Moore doesn't have that alpha mentality over Dak Prescott. He just doesn't. So it is a disorder which turns into dysfunction, as Michael Irvin says. It is from the top to the bottom of that offensive coaching pecking order.
Well, I'm in agreement with you, and the fact that the legends of the Cowboys are there. They know the well workings of that machine on upper levels. They know exactly what's going on that we, as the regular fans or even some of the media people, are not privy to. Michael Irvin's flat out, Troy Aikman's flat out. Some of the previous players, they're going to speak the truth, and a lot of people don't like it because it's offensive to their ears. But and when it comes down to it, we became too predictable, even as a high school coach or, a junior high coach or a college coach. You knew what schemes we were running before they even played, snapped the ball one time. So, we became too predictable. We failed to utilize our people. So that's got to fall on
Jay?
the head coach. You're in the meetings. Because when I'm in my office and my boss comes to my office and closes the door behind him and says, hey, this is what's going on, I know what's riding for this week. So if Mike's not even doing that, or even if he is, there comes a point in time where you got to realize if you're not calling the shots, then why are you there? Just for easy money, free money? It's America's team, man. We didn't ask for that title. That's what we got. They gave it to us. So everybody hates us because they're not us. So if you want to be a part of it, you represent that star, you got to do it right. And assuming responsibility, stepping up and doing that is wrong. And if Jerry Jones puts people in place because he can't trust them, then maybe he's lowering his standards for a coach that we should expect more of.
Of course he is. We know Jerry, and I'm not trying to knock Mike. Maybe Mike could be even better somewhere where he's not being kind of corralled or what have you. But nonetheless, we know Jerry likes to put people in place he's comfortable with. Remember, in business, you don't always need to be comfortable. Sometimes confrontation results in great success because you get ideas out of it. You get pressure out of it and things like that. I don't think the yes men approaches work for Jerry, and it's the evidence is there, right? The evidence is staring you in your face.
It doesn't even work in a business approach. I mean, he made millions of dollars in the oil field not by surrounding people, by you saying yes. Surrounding himself with yes. So, that's just my opinion. First-time caller. I appreciate you taking my call. I know you got a lot of guys on the line, so I'm going to let you go. Have a blessed day, my brother. You take care of yourself and be straight.
Thanks, brother. You too. And appreciate you calling. Call in again, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he talked about being predictable. And you saw that at the end of the year. Budda Baker almost had a pick six on a goddamn screen with your backup guard lined up as a wide receiver. You never seen this before. You saw that in the breakdown with the 49ers with that 3-by-1 or 4-by-1 set. They run the same play out of it. They don't have many variations out of it. And Fred Warner he would just turn around, run to a spot, didn't care what was happening in front of him because nothing changed out of it. So yeah, I mean, teams have tendencies. That's normal. But the great ones or the good teams, schemes or what have you, they have counters within a play. They have different approaches within a play. And we just didn't see it. Right? We just didn't see it. All right, last one in regards to the coaching staff offensively. We'll revisit this thing defensively another day or we'll be here all day. Offensively will be one, Joseph Philbin. Where we at grading Joe Philbin, y'all? Last year, I thought, man, A+ for what he did. I know that the offensive line wasn't great, obviously, but what he had to work with, I thought he did a good job. This year, man, I don't know what the hell happened with the offensive line, but you had the musical chairs going on. Hell, he caught COVID, was out for 3 weeks. The right tackle in and out situation, the left guard in and out situation, the left tackle in and out situation. And part of me is like, how much do I blame Joe for that? How much do I blame the offense not being able to help the scheme wise? Help for that. That's where I fought with. And that's why I settled on a C- for Joe this year. I think Joe's a good offensive line coach, but I think what this team may need is somebody in here that can, I don't want to use the term punch Kellen, but get some confrontation with Kellen to help me out here, buddy. You got to help me out. I'm working what I can work with. F, D-, C-, that's where I'm at, about a C-. D, you just don't kill a successful line for loyalty. Steele and Tyler were good at, yeah, that's the thing. He definitely coached up Steele very well. I thought, and listen, I'm all for bringing in competition for Tyler, right? And Lindenbaum, I'm definitely with that. But Tyler improved throughout the year as well, so you got to give him credit for that. D, F-. Oof, boy. B-, fire him yesterday. Kellen is our problem, says Wayne. D, C, with all the movement, and that's the thing about the movement. I'll say B-. I think Kellen hurt Joe. That's what I was trying to say, Steve. Still progressed, and even think Nsekhe played well. Yeah, that's a great point, Steve. Nsekhe we thought was trash. Nsekhe came in, he did okay. Still obviously progressed. I think to be a starting caliber player, gotta give him credit, right? Tyler Biadasz got it together. I think D is a little harsh and F is a little harsh. I get it. I totally understand. We're upset. The offensive line wasn't spectacular. But I'll harken back to what I said earlier. I still think that offensive line is that team, period. But that offensive line is good enough to advance. It is. Sometimes you got to coach it, though. Sometimes you got to help them out. I think we approached this offensive line after we realized, okay, Tyron Smith is going to be in and out. Dude is just not reliable. Okay, Terrence Steele is going to take some time at left tackle, which he did get better at left tackle, Cowboys Nation. Got better at left tackle. Okay, Lyle Collins started off cool in the first game, got suspended, came back, and he had to get his feet under him. He got his feet under him, and he was cool. But at the end of the day, this ain't 2014. This ain't even 2016. I can't go to this line and say, man up, man up, man up against Arik Armstead. Who's the cat over there? Chandler Jones and these boys, and we just gonna play man up ball, and that's that. I'm just gonna stay in shotgun and run right up the middle. A gap, B gap stuff, no misdirection, no outside stuff. He ain't calling that play. Good coaches put your players in best positions to succeed. So Joe gets a hit due to, I think, circumstances out of his reach, which is why I have it at a C-. Sam said it's the number one line according to PFF. I mean, I don't think it's a number one line, but I don't think it's this. It was an awful line as us frustrated fans right after the game. Man, I hate this line. It sucked. It was not good in that game. No doubt about it. But in totality over the year, and even in the playoffs, I think you had a good enough line to advance. I don't think they were aided. You know what I mean? I don't think they were aided. All right, let's get to Deshaun. What's up, bro?
What up, man? Well, first I would like to ask you is if we do get Sean Payton, I need to know, like, I think Kellen Moore's still gonna be here, but I need to know who the defensive coordinator is gonna be. Because
wait, Deshaun. I tell you something right now.
Okay, go ahead. I was just offense today, huh?
No, we can talk defense, but real quick. Sean Payton, if he come here, Kellen Moore about good is gone.
I hope so.
He gone.
I hope so.
Sean Payton and Kellen Moore do not run remotely close of the same system. And Sean Payton ain't Mike McCarthy. He ain't getting his, snip. He ain't getting no snipped. He coming in here to call plays. He coming in here to set up his scheme with the quarterback that he adores. So if he comes, he out of here. But go on with your question.
Okay. Yeah, but like I said, my thing is how the defense beat. See, it depends on, because think about it. With Sean Payton, a lot of people think Sean Payton went into the Super Bowl. It was because of every time with Drew Brees' situation, it was like they had a lot of offense, but they didn't have a lot of defense. But later on, as the year, as he coached later on, he started having defense.
Yeah,
and that's when Drew Brees kind of got a little bit older.
Had a good stretch of some defenses, brother.
Yeah, some stretches, and I just, like I said, and also me personally, I feel like Sean Payton would help a lot, because if you really think about it, New Orleans has some talent. They never had talent like we had talent, and especially this year.
And that's why I try to give Sean even more credit. Like, they definitely have talent. Don't get me wrong. Like, they've had talent. But, man, listen, I love Marcus Colston. Shout out to 717 in the building, right? He's a Hall of Famer for the Saints. But Marcus Colston couldn't hold a candle to the talent level that these guys have over here. That was their number one wide receiver for a long time. Ted Ginn Jr. resurrected his career under Sean Payton. For years, a lot of coaches and analysts would say, yeah, they got Michael Thomas, but who else, right? He'd go get a bunch of tight ends off the street. Jimmy Graham, oh, he's done. No, he ain't. Jared Cook, oh, he's done. No, he ain't. And he'd make them productive. Like let's not get it twisted. Not talking about you, just the overall thought. Sean Payton helped elevate a lot of players. And that's why him being in Dallas would be amazing, because you got talent. So if you can take that talent and have him elevated via coaching, you're talking about a really damn good team consistently, where I thought the talent always overwhelmed the coaching in Dallas. And once it met its match against an opposing team, it got exposed.
Another question. Did you hear about the 2019? We could have Sean Payton in 2019?
Yeah, you missed it earlier. Run it back when you get a chance. After the roundup, I played the audio from 105 through the Fan about that. Very fascinating story, which to me gave this a little bit more legs than yesterday, to be honest with you. Than 2 days ago.
I can't stand Anthony Davis. I cannot stand that dude right now. I was like, you caused us. We could have been the Super Bowl caliber because of you.
I'm a Laker fan, so.
Hey, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay.
But I'm with you, Deshaun. I would 100% give him back to New Orleans if that means we can get Sean, because I've lived through multiple championships as a Laker fan. But I need this.
Y'all won the 2020. You'll be okay.
I know.
But anyway, like I said, me personally, I want to know is, will Jerry give up some more control? And I understand he trusts Sean Payton, but you know how Jerry is. Jerry likes the spotlight. He likes this. Well, on Tuesday, will he be like, oh, my gosh, we're going to do one thing a certain way, and Sean Payton has to look at, like, be on the podium and be like, I know this mother fluffer did not just. And so then I think that's the issue. Every time a coach want to do something, Jerry butts in and says his part. So now all the spotlight's on Jerry, and then you're like, okay, well, now I have to adjust to what Jerry's saying. He did it every coach who could come through. Yeah. He did it to every single coach. So my question is, will he give Sean Payton like that the leeway to let him do what he want to do? Because Sean Payton ain't gonna come in here and just be all yes, man all the time.
That's the question. That is the $64,000 question, right? Like, will he concede control for Sean? If you put, I don't want to use this term, but if you said, Sky, make a decision right now, will he or won't he? I would lean towards more yes, because he falls under that alpha type of coach like a Jimmy and like a Bill Parcells. Now, will he relinquish all control? I doubt that. Nah. But he didn't even do that with Jimmy. I mean, I'm sorry, he didn't even do that with Bill. So I don't know that he'll release all control, but maybe he releases just enough to allow Sean to do him, right? Enough to just allow him to do him. Maybe he makes a personnel decision or two, or maybe, he makes a coaching decision or two, which sometimes that can come back and bite you, right? Like the coaching decision that's coming back to bite Dallas right now is the Kellen Moore one, right? Keeping Kellen Moore. So I would lean towards yes to Sean, because Sean Payton is the one that got away. He even said that. He adores Sean Payton, and Sean Payton is trusted and tried and proven. So I would lean towards, he'll give up some, but maybe not all of it.
Now, the thing that interests me about Sean Payton, I guess compared to Mike McCarthy, I was listening to I was listening to the 4 Letter Network, which I know I'm supposed to do, but I just do it just to see what type of super stuff they're going to say. Now, you might Anto was like one of the biggest Cowboys haters. He said it himself. He was like, if Dallas gets Sean Payton, they'll win the Super Bowl. He was like, because how Sean Payton
did see that one.
How they did it, and then it was another one it was like a morning show with Max Kellerman and them. It was like one of the guys was like, the difference between Mike McCarthy and Sean Payton, when you hear Mike McCarthy, he's kind of timid. He's kind of like, he's not sure of himself. When you hear Sean Payton talk, you have to respect it. It's like that intimidation factor. You're gonna respect him. At the same time, you're gonna admire.
You're gonna fear me
completely. Yeah.
There needs to be a little bit of. I mean, that's just coaching, man. I know there's a lot of fans we have in here that have been coaches at some point. A little bit of fear. It don't have to be the Bill Parcells type of fear, Bill Belichick, but there needs to be a little bit of, man, if I don't get this done, I'm out of here type of fear. And maybe some of that, again, comes from the top where there's no fear, because they know, what you going to do? Cut? You ain't going to do nothing, coach, because Jerry is my guy. So, you know what I mean? There does need to be some type of fear, but your ownership and management has to allow it.
Agree. And then my final thing is, so I know he's not going to coach all this year. Now, next year, are we giving up draft picks? How much draft picks? How much? Yeah. Now, I read it back. I'll listen to it. I listened to it earlier. I was just like,
the draft pick part for me, that's the one. How much? Let me propose something to y'all real quick. And this is be interesting. This is just spitballing, just throwing this out here, kind of tongue in cheek. Can you do coach for coach trades? Because, I mean, just hear me out. Hey, Nolans, I give you Kellen Moore in a 3rd round pick, and the next year's 2nd round pick or something crazy like that. Just give me, just give me Sean Payton.
Nah, she gonna want that 1st round pick from us.
No. Y'all want an offensive guy, right? He's smart. He's young. He's the next Sean Payton. Here, take Kellen Moore. Give us Sean Payton. That compensation I'd be down with, but they're not gonna do that. I'm just messing.
I know they're gonna want a 1st round pick. They're gonna want it. But me personally, I don't mind now. If they want 2, now that's after 2 months.
Yeah.
If you say 1,
one.
Then, we're gonna keep waiting.
I'll deal with 1. I could live with one first round pick. I could sit here and be cool if it was one first round pick. But I played this earlier. John Gruden was traded for 2 first round picks and 2 second round picks. Ain't no way in hell I'm doing that.
Nope, I'm not doing that. I'd rather just wait for that at that moment. But
come on,
man, but hey, that's all I got for the show. But man, that's crazy.
All right, man.
I'll talk to you later.
Appreciate you.
All right.
I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, I'm talking out with y'all Cowboys Nation. Y'all let me know. Is that can you do that? I'd get Jerry, you need to sweet talk Mickey Loomis. And what's their owner name? The woman? I forget her name. My apologies. Let them know you got the next best thing. Pump him up like you do, Jerry. You are great at that. Pump his ass up. Hell, he don't even got to go be the head coach. Promote Dennis Allen the head coach. Let him be the offensive coordinator. I wonder if you could do that. Kellen Moore and a pick for Sean Payton. Interesting. I'm gonna reach out to somebody. I gotta figure out if that's possible. Got to figure out if that's possible, man. What y'all saying? We can't give that bum away for free. Sean Payton is head and shoulders leagues better than John Gruden. Right, just and that's the thing. At that point in time, and that's not the only time first round picks, multiple day 1 picks were exchanged for a head coach. Bill Parcells netted multiple day 1, day 2 picks, depending on the year of day 1, day 2. He switched this thing up all the time. Wavy said, who needs picks? Look at the Rams. Don't do it, Wavy. Now listen, I love Les Snead. I love what the Rams are doing over there. Y'all know me. I'm all for that type of movement, but they did it for players, right? They went out and got a bunch of players with those picks. Can we Ray, you ain't right. Can we trade Jerry and Kellen for Sean? Y'all goofy, man. I'm just saying, I never thought about that. And I think you can do it. All right, Lo, send us out, man.
Good morning, Scott. Good morning. I hope you're having a good one. God bless. I'll keep it simple and short today. I'll stick to the coaching topic. I don't know if these reports are true, but it does look like we are going to keep Kellen and Mike McCarthy as one more year.
Yeah,
and that's the sense I'm feeling. Yeah, so unless we do something majorly with the Sean Payton news. However, with the Dan Quinn news, we're probably going to lose him. And we'll see how he does when he leaves here, because not many teams have a Mike or 2 premium pass rushers. Let's be honest about that. So we'll see how him leading us will affect us. So my priority wouldn't be on who's replacing Moore and McCarthy right now. Instead, on who's the market who can replace Dan Quinn and maximize these potential pieces of how to use Micah. And because you said it, Sky, our defense side hasn't never been addressed until we forced our hand with our first year with Mike McCarthy. And our secondary play, if we're completely honest, we might lose Curse or Hooker and some of these key players in the rotation on the D-line, such as Watkins. So we're going to have to draft and bring some players in. So there's going to have to be a scheme here on the defensive side as well, most importantly, that's going to basically maximize the player's potential. Because every year you're not going to be guaranteed to go into what you had this year. And I think that's what really bothers me the most with this year is Cowboys had the opportunity to make a run, especially with this defense we had causing like the most turnovers. But like that's here and there, we blew it at. So I'm not worried about our offense. Go ahead, Sky.
Oh, no, finish. I'm surprised. You're not worried about. Go ahead.
But because our offense can be improved with a scheme that can be implanted, right?
But
so like Bruce Lee.
If you bring back this offensive staff, you're not a little bit worried.
I am worried, but like this is going to my next point. So as Bruce Lee said, I do not fear man who has thrown 10,000 kicks at once, but I fear the man who has practiced that one kick 10,000 times. And I feel what Kellen is lacking is he has proven concepts that works, but he hasn't figured out a way to just stick to one thing and stick to it. Because if you look at these last 4 teams that are standing, especially the last 2 teams in the NFC, they implement the run first to get that pass going. And I feel Dallas with like a Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan system, you will see they definitely major improvements with that, Cooper and Pollard, etc. It's simple. You just get the playmakers the ball. And, and it goes both ways, Sky. Coaching can overcome bad talent at times, but great talent can't overcome bad coaching. And Cowboys need to find a way to maximize both, which is the management of this team and letting the best players make plays to win and making those hard decisions on the field and confrontational. As you said, you play to win the game and not let the money play. And I feel like the decision that really has hurt Jerry the most was when we had signed Zeke. Because if Zeke was not signed, you damn rest assured Pollard would have been on that field running those plays. But just because we signed Zeke and Jerry had his ego of like, I signed this man for a reason, that the ego of a man will always be a downfall. So like I said, Sky, we have to find a way to fix both, the management of the team and the coaching. Because if we don't, we can talk about this year after year and after year again. So that's all I have to say, Sky. And hopefully that's it. And I just hope we find a way to, like, I am worried about our offense, but I just want Kellen and Mike just to get in that lab and figure out a way to. They have one more year to prove it, and if not, hey, Sean Payton, here comes Jerry with that check of yours. And that's all I have to say.
All right, Los, appreciate you. Yeah, don't get me back started on the whole running back thing with that contract. Listen, I said what I said years ago. Get your bag, bruh. Get your bag, right? But I thought that was a mistake. Not just because you gave all that money to a back who's going to wear down. That's just facts. You did it early. You didn't need to do it. You had him under contract for 5 years. You didn't need to do it. But I don't think that's the biggest mistake he made. I mean, you still had opportunities to win, even with him having a lot of money in a contract. We know what the biggest mistake is. It's him being involved in this stuff. And we're talking about Jerry Jones. That's the biggest mistake. But the second part he talked about was coaching. I want to get away from his main point, which was, what do we do defensively? Because, yeah, we're talking about a lot of hypotheticals offensively when it looks like the offense of coaching staff is going to be here next year. Doesn't look like the defensive staff. I'm holding out hope. Fingers crossed. Dan Quinn doesn't get a job. He can get a job if he wants one. Right now, Denver and all these other teams likely, at least Denver, I know for a fact, are offering this man a job. It's a matter of does he want it, right? So if he does get the job, does he take Witt with him? Does he take Aiden Durde with them? Does he take other staff members? Things like that. Find out next on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. Now, tomorrow I think we'll do the defensive staff and talk about those guys, how we feel about them, grade them, and then Friday finish off the first part of the hindsight series with the depth guys and where we can go with those players. All right. Sam said, but Sky, you in his pockets talking about Zeke. No, get his bread. Get your money, man. Get your money. Yeah, all players get their money. I would never talk. I don't like to talk about their money too much in regards to outside of the infrastructure of the cap. Like, get your bread, 100%. But that position, that running back position, boy, you look around the league. I don't think you need that kind of back. Elijah Mitchell, Jonathan Taylor was 2nd round pick, Tony Pollard, 4th round pick. When you got one though, and they're healthy and they're playing, it absolutely helps. No doubt about it. But I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole just yet. When Zeke is healthy, Zeke is very good for you. He ain't going nowhere. So what's the point of you talking about it? He's going nowhere, ladies and gentlemen. Nowhere. All right, let me get into the chat a little bit more here. Wavy says, seriously, why are they not promoting Dan Quinn? Isn't that how you run a business? Honestly, if you want to keep Dan Quinn, that's the best way to do it. Jay said they paid players will always be on the field, whether they suck or not. Zeke over TP, Collins over an improved Steele. Hell, we saw Darian Thompson over Wilson for a while. Last year, who was the other one? The defensive end. Alden Smith over Randy Gregory. And we heard our guy Beasley talk about how the front office can dictate who gets the ball too. So, yeah, that seems to be a theme here in Dallas. Yeah, y'all still talking about Zeke. Yeah, he here though. He's not going nowhere. So utilize them in a split manner. Been saying this for so long, man. And then Marcus Mosier dropped a tweet yesterday. He's so anti-Zeke. He doesn't like him at all. He said he cool, but he really don't like him. It's okay. Ezekiel Elliott has something. I want to find this tweet because I don't want to screw it up. But he has something like 15 runs of 20 yards. Or 20 runs, something crazy of 20 yards in his rookie year. But since then, combined, he's only had 10 between 2017 and 2022. Listen, y'all can talk about line. You can talk about what you want to talk about. It's clear as day. He's not that same caliber of player, but that doesn't mean he can't be productive if you utilize him in a way. Look at him in the first half of this year. He was productive for you. He wasn't a home run hitter, but he was a very productive player. He can still be productive. How long? I don't know. 25, 30 touches? Not at all. Not doing that with him. He's clearly breaking down. So minimize his touches to anywhere in that 15 to 19 range, and you get TP anywhere between 12 to 15 touches. And I think you got a successful approach moving forward. But all right, Cowboys Nation, I'm going to go ahead and head up out of here. I appreciate you guys for dropping the donations, for coming through in the chat. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that because we're trying something different out here on YouTube. Salute to Facebook as well for y'all coming through. Tomorrow, we'll be back and we'll grade the defensive side and maybe we'll dive into a little bit of the remaining defensive ends for our hindsight series. So tune in tomorrow for the next episode of Dragon Ball Z to find out what we're going to do, man. Press this button. Later tonight, our guy Mauricio Rodriguez will be on live. A to Z Sports Prime Time. Check out A to Z SportsDallas.com for all the latest and greatest in regards to the Dallas Cowboys and the articles. I'll be back tomorrow about 8:15-ish on the ish side. Make sure y'all join me, man. Appreciate you guys. Salute. I'm out of here. Peace. Shout out to Stevie Mac, the mod god.
I want me some glory hole.